Welcome into the Dad Verb podcast. Topics around parenting from the lens of a dad.
This episode's going to be a fun one, guys. We're going to be talking about some parenting non-negotiables, our family rules here, and this is going to be based off of
Welcome into the dad.
We're rookies. You know what?
How
We're
many
rookies.
times you gonna play it?
Double intros.
Double intro, guys. Double the dad verb.
We really like that intro music.
Apparently, there's a loop function.
There is a loop function, guys.
Welcome.
Triple intro.
Triple. One for each of us, guys. So there was a video.
Powered by Riverside FM.
What the?
Who's
It won't stop.
Okay, so all right. So for context, before we get started, Riverside, our podcast recording platform, has added a bunch of new features
Yep.
that obviously we have not figured out how to
We
use
have
yet.
not. We're
So
just
you know what? There
new
might
toys.
be intros. There might be weird Riverside advertisements in the middle of this that we're not getting paid for, but we're here. We're gonna try it
just
anyway.
roll with it. Just roll with
with us. Just roll with us.
Don't worry, I set it back to preview, so now they won't hear anything.
All right. Well, guys,
Perfect.
Andrew here, other Andrew here, Ben in the house. We're excited to be coming at you. And Ben had a post go viral for about 1.6 million views
Yeah,
on his
1.6.
Instagram. And guys, he's close to a 10K follower count. So if I could just point you in one direction today, at Mr_Mackenzie. We're going to have that link in the show notes. Go follow Ben. I'm at dad_verb. And then we've got Saunders over there with his
bunch of letters.
bunch of letters.
Okay.
That's his password. That's his Wi-Fi password. That's
It's
his
an
handle.
acronym, and it's my tattoo, for the record.
Makes more sense. Okay.
So it's trying to be a knight in a time when only armor matters, and it's literally on my arm.
now we have context. Now we
Yeah.
have context as to what
Now it
that
makes
is.
sense.
For
But-
the record, if 6 of you follow me, I get to 100 followers, and that'd be great. So,
Well, if you are already following Ben, he had a post go pop off for 1.6 million views, and it was about his family rules, his non-negotiables. And we figured that since it got a lot of good traction and it's a good topic on parenting, on fatherhood, it's something that we should kind of expound on throughout the next few minutes for this episode. So Ben, I'll kick it off to you.
Yeah.
Kind of break down the impetus of this post and kind of some of the context, and we'll kind of tack onto it with some of our own rules and our own takes on this.
Yeah, really, the genesis of this was I was looking to make some content. I was kind of bored. I kind of figured, since I'm a fatherhood content creator, right? Like, how do we talk about what we do within our families and how do we try to develop our kids and our family dynamic into what we want it to be? I'd seen a couple other folks post about their family rules, and I thought it was interesting because everybody's kind of got a different flavor of how they manage their family, what they're teaching their kids, and what sort of the moral base, I guess, of their parenting ideology is. So I shared 6 rules that we follow in our family, and I'll read them off now. And I will say, before we get into this, I did not realize that this was going to be as controversial as it was. There was a lot of really interesting like arguments in the chat that I thought these were pretty standard things, but
You're gonna piss off someone, man.
I know.
Anything
Read
in
mad
social, you're
about
gonna piss someone
something.
off. Yeah.
But these are our 6 rules. So the first one is it's okay to be mad, but it's not okay to be mean. The second one is we're all part of the family, so it's everyone's responsibility to help out. Screen time is perfectly fine in moderation, which was not the most controversial one, which I thought
would think
was
that
really
would be.
interesting. Yeah, I thought they were going to come after me for that one. The truth will never get you in trouble, and this needs some context because this one was a little. This probably presented a lot of arguments in the comments. Number 5 was we're human and we make mistakes. Own them and apologize. This goes for parents and kids. And then the last one is everyone gets one-on-one time, even parents.
Nice.
And we can kind of
go down
the
one by
list, but yeah, the first one, and I think this is the most important, right, is it's okay to be mad, right? Everybody has emotions. If you guys have ever listened to Dr. Becky or anything, there's deeply feeling kids. They've got big feelings. It's kind of the basis of like gentle parenting, right? Your kids are going to experience feelings and everybody feels stuff, and that's okay. Emotions are fine. And it's okay to be mad about something. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be sad. What it's not okay to do is to then translate that emotion into an action that is going to negatively affect someone else. So you can be mad about something, but like you can be mad that your sister took your toy, but it's not okay for you to try to retaliate against her because she took your toy. It's okay to be mad at mom and dad because we won't let you have candy for dinner, but it's not okay to sit there and yell and scream and try to call people names. It's okay to be mad at your friend because, you know, they did something you didn't like, but it's not okay to like throw a toy at their head.
Right.
So like the emotion is okay. The negative behavior driven by the emotion is not.
Dude,
Man,
that's
do I have some fun stories related to those.
do you? Well, I'll let you hit on that.
No.
Oh, not legit. Not
we're getting
podcast
canceled
appropriate.
this week. Yeah.
I will say
I will not tell the story about how I chased my sister through the house with a knife because of something she did. That would not be appropriate at all. As a teenager, I knew better.
Not okay to be mean.
Yeah.
Talk about getting flamed in the comments, dude. You tell that story, we're done for, dude. No, so now that's something that is something that I had to like kind of learn slowly as a parent over time with our kiddos, because I think it's really easy to default to kind of, man, it was funny. I follow this Filipino influencer who's just like what it's like to grow up in a Filipino household. And like, you know, it was funny because this guy is like, oh, Mom, I have anxiety. He's like, you don't have anxiety. No. Go work. You're fine. No anxiety, you know? And it's just kind of like,
Feelings
I don't know if it was,
don't exist.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if it was growing up with, you know, a dad who grew up in a developing country in the Philippines or whatever, but just, you can like outwork anything, whether that's anger or emotions or whatever, just like work through it and you'll be fine. And I think I let that kind of like translate into myself, which isn't the best approach. But anytime our kids have big feelings, they're mad or anything like that, I don't even give them the opportunity to be like sad or mad, or I didn't initially with our first Henry. It's a learning experience, but it was just kind of like, it's very dismissive. Right. But taking that first rule to heart is really interesting, because you're embracing, you know, like the, you know, and giving them permission to feel. Right. But then there's a reaction that kind of comes with it that needs to be tempered and in check, rather than being overtly dismissive of, you know, whether you're mad or angry or sad or, you know, I think that's something that I had to learn about, just kind of being dismissive of emotions in general. I think that was just a predicament of the way I grew up, honestly.
Yeah. And ultimately what you're trying to teach them, right, is the relationship to the emotion, and that the emotion should not drive an action. Like the emotion can exist and that's fine. I can be mad, I can be frustrated, I can be sad, but there has to be a processing that happens that does not lead to an immediate reactive outcome, right? So like, I'm mad, I hit. That's not going to be okay when you're 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, and then no one wants to be your friend because every time you're mad, you take a swing at somebody. There's okay, I'm mad about something. How do I process it, get through it, and then figure out what the action is that I need to take that's not necessarily either, you know, physical or whatever it is.
Yeah. There's multi stages that you kind of laid out, and I think what I struggled with, because I think it's just the way I grew up, was like the first stage of having an emotion before the processing and all that, like having the emotions, like no, forget it, just move on, you know. And that
doesn't happen. Move on.
that's what I struggled with. All right, rule 2.
These are not the emotions you're looking for.
We're all part of the family, so it's everyone's responsibility to help out. This is something that we definitely embody in our family. Everything. Yeah,
everybody has a role in the family.
Yeah.
Whether that's, you know, like even as little as my daughter, she's 18 months old. She can walk. When we're unloading the dishwasher, we encourage her to be around us, to just hand us stuff out of the dishwasher. So she'll hand us like kids' plates, and we take all the really sharp stuff out first to make sure she doesn't hurt herself. But she'll hand us, you know, kids' plates and dishes, and even to the point where like she'll pick up a glass plate and hand it to us. So we're trying to trust her ability to do things, because what that's going to translate to in our mind is belief in her, one, her responsibility to the family, and two, her capabilities as a person, right? Like she can do so much stuff that she is capable of, but she has to have the confidence to do it. If we're constantly telling her, no, don't touch that, you're not big enough yet, within reason, like we don't want her to take a butcher knife out of the dishwasher and try to hand it to us or something like that. But if we can give her those responsibilities, it's helpful for her to believe a little bit more in herself, which for better or worse is going to give her, more confidence in the future.
I think where a lot of parents could struggle, including myself, is when you are such just a perfectionist or a neat freak, right? And to empower your kids to take on tasks, that requires a learning curve, which may result in a little bit of mess, something breaking, and being okay with that so that you don't stunt them in the long term. Something as simple as pouring milk into a cup, or orange juice, or, cracking eggs into whatever you're baking, just those basic tasks, like they're not going to nail it. And I think what a lot of parents often default to is like, you're not ready. Okay, I'm just going to do it because I can do it right. You just sit there and figure it out. But that ultimately stunts them, and they're not as involved, and they're not learning some pivotal things specific to that rule set that you kind of laid out there.
See, Ben's over here teaching his 18-month-old not to grab the sharp knife. I'm just teaching her which end's the handle, so she knows.
So she knows how to.
Yeah, so she knows. Like, we're already chopping bananas at this house. Okay, the 2-year-old's working on onions. Like,
yeah, we love it.
Don't grab the sharp side. Grab the other end.
We do the same thing. Like our 4-year-old now, well, almost 4. He'll be 4. Gosh, in a couple weeks. But he made lunch for him and his sister the other day, because he wanted sandwiches. He knew that she was hungry, and we were like, hey, but you're going to make yourself a sandwich. Why don't you make one for your sister too? He literally made them lunch. Like, we didn't have to do anything except kind of sit back and observe. No, he made them turkey and cheese sandwiches on like King's Hawaiian roll. So he had to take the rolls out, slice them, get the turkey out, get the cheese out, put the sandwiches together, get them plates, and then put them out on their little table so they could eat together.
You don't.
So it was just cool that he well, no, not anymore. No, but it's cool that he but they even, if at that point they knew how to avoid them, which was cool. It was nice. But yeah, it's that everybody has a responsibility is gives them this idea that they're not coddled, right? Like, we say a lot, somebody will ask us to go do something. Hey, can you go throw my trash away? And it's, you have legs and you know where the trash is. You're perfectly capable of handling that. Like, when it comes to picking up toys, it doesn't always work, but you are responsible for picking up your things. There's a really good book called Hunt, Gather, Parent, which looks at indigenous groups and how they raise their children and involve them in the adult world, from Mayan cultures to Inuit cultures to kind of comparing to the Western culture. And they're they don't do special stuff for kids. They do things that are in the adult world, cooking, cleaning, taking care of others. And then the kids just get responsibilities as part of the family as they grow up. And there's this understanding, they're going to mess it up. They're going to make mistakes. And then if it's too bad, you kind of shoo them away to do other things. But they have to have the opportunity to do it so they know what they're capable of, to give them the confidence to do it again in the future.
Yeah, I see a lot of bridges to the worlds of Montessori and all that, with regards to what you just mentioned there. For the sake of driving the conversation forward, Ben's third rule, screen time is perfectly fine in moderation. I think we've kind of hit on this multiple times in the past. And we're okay with it. So that's a thing.
Not that big a deal.
But based off of the comments on Ben's post, that didn't trigger as many people as number 4. The truth will never get you in trouble. 4. So let's add context to that.
Yeah. So this one's a little tough, because obviously an Instagram post, there's only so much space for text on a screen that people are going to read in 5 seconds, right? So the premise of this is not you don't get in trouble for the things you do. It's that there's this idea that there are natural consequences for the actions you take, right? And adding arbitrary punishment on top of that doesn't necessarily make the lesson any more effective. So I don't know. Like you steal something and you get caught. Like you telling me that, hey, I stole something and I got in trouble for it. What's the point of me saying, all right, you're grounded for 2 weeks? Like, and adding on top of that, it's, I got caught, I got in trouble. Here were the consequences that I suffered. And sort of adding this either arbitrary punishment or extra punishment on top of those natural consequences, in my mind, will lead your child to not tell you the next time that there's an issue, right? And we've talked about this on the podcast before, like, you know, your kid goes out and they get with their friends and they end up drinking and they're like, I cannot get, or my friends are drinking, I can't get in the car to ride home with them. If they can't trust you when they call to tell you that truth and say, hey, I've been drinking, I know I shouldn't have, but I need help to get out of the situation. If they can't trust you to be there for them in that situation, and that by telling you the truth, you're not going to like fly off the handle and, you know, do this and do that and, you know, cause a lot of extra angst for them, they're much more likely to come to you when it really matters. And that's kind of the big thing.
Yeah. It's openness.
But that was obviously missed in a lot of the commentary where people were like, the truth has consequences. You should always get in trouble. Even if my kid's bullying and they tell me the truth that they're a bully, they should still get in trouble. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that.
That's not what you said.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, did you guys get spanked as kids?
Oh yeah. Wooden spoon.
Once, and I remember it.
Sorry, Dad.
That was it.
What did you learn from that experience?
I don't like wooden spoons.
Not to lie about cleaning up my closet.
Was
that
that
I didn't
it?
want that to happen again? Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I'm
like
curious. Did that, because we know based off of the research today about the impact of spanking and, you know, using a switch or whatever you want to call it, belts or chancletas, or how do you use sandals, or whatever, you know, and the relationship that it causes in the long term, about what you hinted at about it's not fostering, you know, an environment where you can be open with your parents and kind of bring them tougher questions down the line. It's just, I'm just going to hide it because I got my ass beat last time. Why would I want to open up next time, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think in a very real way, there's a big difference between like the go pick your switch and getting beat, right? And a spanking. Like, because I probably deserved it every time I got spanked. Yeah. I'm not going to lie, right? And
I'm not going to, I deserved it too, but I think there was probably long-term a better way to approach that.
Yeah, maybe. But I'm like, and I'm not advocating you should spank your children. And
no, I got you.
Speaking, don't spank my children, right? I mean, I shouldn't say generally. I don't think I've ever spanked my child in like punishment.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't like. Again, I think it goes back to the first one, right? Everything in moderation, even moderation. You want to spank your kids, do it in moderation every time. Like, the problem is the people who went overboard, or you took a freezer pop out of the thing, go get the belt. Like, that's there's levels that are not being articulated there, right? And I think the part that everybody missed in number 4 is telling the truth doesn't mean you don't have to live with the consequences of the truth. Right?
Exactly.
There are consequences to every action. But we all know this. You get pulled over for speeding, it goes a lot easier if you just say, yep, I was speeding.
Own it.
Yep, you need to write me a ticket. Thank you, officer. I'll pay my fine, right? If you deny it or you obfuscate or, no, I don't know why you pulled me over, officer. Like, it just gets worse.
You just dig yourself into a hole, which kind of leads into number 5. We're human.
Exactly.
We make mistakes. Own them, apologize. Not just for the kids, as parents too. This is something that I think both Saunders and Ben have like given examples of in previous podcasts about, you know, like I got heated, I stepped out of line, I probably shouldn't have reacted that way. Not letting it just mull over, like addressing that and owning up to that, going up to your kiddo saying, hey, last night Dad was this. I'm sorry. It shouldn't have been that way. You explain your emotion so that they have a fundamental understanding of, oh, That's how a dad processes emotion. I process the same way, and it's leading by example in that regard. Is the gist that you were hinting, that you were kind of getting at with that,
that's
right?
exactly it. It's the idea of repair, right? Like we're all going to make mistakes. We all have feelings. We all get overworked, overtired, overwhelmed. You know, there's too much happening, and you snap. You yell at your kid. You're frustrated trying to get him out the door. And you know, I've never like screamed at my children, but like I raise my voice. I say something not nice. You know, it's not the way I would have wanted to handle it. And the idea is make the point when you feel that, because you feel it when it happens. You're like, oh, like as soon as it goes through, you're like, oh man, I should either watch their shoulders drop and you kind of see them deflate and you're like, oh, I should not have handled that way.
Yeah.
Take that opportunity to say, I'm sorry, I was either frustrated, I was, you know, tired, this, that, or the other. Let's find a better way to communicate. I'm sorry that I did that. I'm going to try to be better, and then make that meaningful change. And you will see that, as hard as that is, you will see that in your kids. They will start to do that regularly. You know, I've had my son apologize for yelling at me. He was just like, I was sad that blah, blah, blah. And then he can relate it back to the feeling. He's like, I yelled because I was sad about this, this, and this. And like, I was sad you were leaving for work. And it's like, okay, well, now I understand why you were moving so slow. You didn't want me to go to work. It makes a lot more sense than, dude, just put on your shoes so we can get out the door. I've told you 6 times and you're not listening.
There you go.
I mean, I think the piece of that follows, though, is you have to be willing to look at that stuff from yourself, right? And just, we've been going to the pool a lot, and you get to see other parents at the pool. If you go on the weekends, there are more men, by the way. I don't know how that equates out from our pool conversation. But if you watch other people parent their kids at the pool, you can see the people who care and the ones who are just doing what their parents did to them, right? And perpetuating the unfortunate cycle, I guess, or not trying to improve the next step. Because, like, I've watched the incident you're speaking of where dad just launched into the kid. You saw the shoulders drop, and I went, oh, that poor kid. And dad just moved on, didn't even recognize what he did to his own kid.
Yeah,
right?
man.
And so, like, I think you're right. We're human, we make mistakes, right? But you're also taking a little more personal responsibility than I think, based on my experience, a lot of people actually are, right? But, I mean, as Andrew said multiple times, that's why we're all here, right? We're interested in taking a little more personal responsibility for raising our kids than I think on average most people are. Anyway, sorry,
no, that's well said.
It was an interesting moment. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, able to recognize that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that. That's a good way of looking at it. And to kind of round things out here before we end here, everyone gets one-on-one time, even parents. I really, really like those last 2 words, even parents, and understanding the boundaries of like, hey guys, mom and dad are here. So we're trying to have sex, guys. Come on. No. No.
Why does one-on-one time have to be with my spouse? Can't it be with my buddies? Like,
me playing a lot of Fortnite with my homeboys on online. That's kind of been a thing lately. It's been fun, guys. I'm into Fortnite now. All of a sudden, like 7 years too late. Yeah. Anyway, Ben, explain yourself.
So one of the things we've really struggled with, and I think
you're in trouble, and explain it.
I know. I think one of the things we've really struggled with is, as a couple, is like, you can get into a very business-like relationship, right? When the kids have to be here, you've got this schedule. What's for dinner? I need to go to the grocery store. We've got this, and this obligation. We got a birthday party this weekend. Blah blah blah. It becomes a very transactional relationship. Some people call it like the roommate phase, right? Even with your kids, you can start to lose that bond, that time to just be together, because there's a different dynamic. And I'm sure, I mean, Andrew, you've got 3 kids, and other Andrew, you've got 2 girls. Like, you can see the difference in your relationship as it exists as a family unit and your relationship as it exists between you and one other person. my relationship with my son one-on-one is different than my relationship with my son as part of our family of 4. And so one of the things we struggle with, I think, as parents is finding that one-on-one time to build that foundation of the relationship. What are you interested? Who are you? How do we relate to each other, even when they're really little? And then the thing that we really miss, and going back to that transactional nature of your relationship, is like we forget we were a couple before we had kids. Like we existed as a couple before we had children, and sometime in the next 18 to 20 years, we're going to just be us again. And I don't want to look across the table at somebody that I haven't taken the time to know and understand for the last 20 years, and I don't know them anymore. And so for us, like, it's really important that we, when we get to those phases where we feel like, man, it's like running a business, that we take the time to go on a date. It could be a day date where we just take off a little early from work, meet up for coffee, go find a place to work together, where we can just sit and have a conversation, do some work while we're just spending time together. Recently, my wife and I took a little trip. We took a road trip, but just the two of us, no kids.
It's
We
awesome.
went to Kiowa in South Carolina and then went to Charleston for 3 days. And you don't realize how beneficial that time to reconnect is. Like we got to sit in a pool and have drinks at a hotel for like hours. We just sat in a pool. And the biggest like eye opener was watching other people have their kids at the pool and go, I don't have to watch anybody.
Yeah.
I'm not
That's a good
responsible for
feeling.
anyone other than myself.
It's such a good liberating
And the biggest
feeling.
thing too is like you go to breakfast or dinner or whatever. And I found myself being anxious about not getting to breakfast early enough.
Yep.
And thinking, oh God, we're going to get there. There's going to be a wait. We're going to have to wait for a table. And then I went, it doesn't matter. I can wait 45 minutes for a table for brunch because I don't have somebody asking me for snacks. I don't have someone who needs to use the potty. I don't have somebody who is too tired now to eat their food and they're upset. It's just me.
So Ben just listed all the reasons I don't wait 45 minutes for a table. Like kids will be damned, right? Andrew don't wait 45 minutes for a table. Like
you know what's
20
funny?
minutes to seat me, or my cash is going somewhere else. Like
You mentioned those kind of feelings in the morning, like, man, like life without kids is just like it's weird. It's weird. And one of the things, it's like, oh, we could turn on like the Today Show or just like the news in the morning instead of having this like Bluey on in the background or something. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's weird. There have been times where the kids aren't in the house and I just have Bluey on just as the background sounds.
Yep.
Just because
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with it. It makes me feel good.
It's
but
like white noise.
you know what though? I as we kind of final thoughts here. One thing that I've experienced in the recent months is, I feel like your marriage, or at least my marriage, was an interesting set of stages where we were boyfriend, girlfriend, and fiance, and then early marriage. And those early marriages, just fun, and then you have your kids, and then things get turned upside down. And the baby years, it's tough. I mean, it's no secret that it's just exhausting, the mental grind, the exhaustion. And then the toddler years, it gets exponentially more difficult. It's difficult. The potty training, then you've got the teething and just the emotions and this and that. And then they kind of hit 5, 6, 7. And only recently did I start to feel like, wow, like we've gone through like this 7-year period where it was difficult. I mean, we have a great marriage, but there's a lot of difficulty and lots of ups and downs. But all of a sudden, very recently, just felt like things started to level out, and we're kind of leaving that roommate stage as kind of you just mentioned. And it's almost like we're reverting back to this pre-kid stage, but with kids. And it's better. Like it just feels better. Like we have more time for ourselves. We have a good schedule and routine, and the kids can kind of fend for themselves a little bit, right? They can get themselves breakfast in the morning, whatever they need. And, they have like, there's this sense of order. And it's nice. I think a lot of the guys that listen to this, anyone who's kind of consumed Dad Verb content, whether it's videos or whatever, have I'm sure been stuck in the baby toddler phase, and where it's just lots of ups and downs and fights and this and that, where that transactional set of emotions is very prevalent. But as our kids have gotten older, it's gotten good. It's gotten better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really fun. I when those kids hit like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's a really fun stage. And I'm kind of entering that despite the fact I still have a 2-year-old. She's entertained by her brothers. And it's a really, really good stage, I gotta say. I enjoy it a lot. It's been great for our marriage. But Saunders, I'll let you kind of have the last word here. I know we've kind of dribbled on.
Well, so the thing that came up for me with the everyone gets one-on-one time, and Ben alluded to it and then like kept going, and I didn't want to interrupt him, but I think he really hit the nail on the head for why you see some couples get divorced about their time their kids are like 14, 15, 16, right?
Yeah.
They just, because they hit that moment when their kids are basically self-sufficient, they don't need mom and dad anymore, and they look across the table and they go, I don't like that person. Like,
It's because they prioritize them kids instead of the marriage, which is something that we hit on. Freaking
right. And so I think that's something that, as you put it, the dad verb content listeners who are still in that 3, 4, 5 year standpoint, right? Early kids, early relationship, need to just recognize and take for a moment and go, okay, I don't want to lose what I had, so I need to at least put in a little bit of effort throughout this process to make sure that I can maintain that, so that when we get to the other side, I don't look across the table and go, who did I marry? Right? Because I think that happens a lot more than we realize, which is why you see these, I was married for 15 years, I got divorced, I got another, right? Like,
it breaks my
because
heart,
it happens a lot.
Yeah,
I mean,
it does.
And so I think it's just, right, we just need to keep an eye on it. And I think that everyone gets one-on-one time rule is a pretty good rule to kind of sit down. On the other hand, it really does make me think about the, like, okay, dear, we're going to schedule your one-on-one time. What are your grievances with Andrew and the management of this family? Like, and your 30 minutes is up. We will see you next month. Like, right? Like the standard boss, like, I'll listen to you, but I'm not going to take any of your advice into consideration. Like,
yeah.
Sorry, I have one-on-one trauma from work. It has nothing to do with my relationship.
Well, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comment section of the YouTube video. That'll do it for this week's episode. If you want to join us on Discord, you can follow the link in the description or the show notes on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening this week, and we will catch you in the next one. Peace.